Hello. Quick question. What if I drop you into a radioactive hellscape where I've transmuted your limbs into rectangles, surrounded you with mutants, cultists, and insane people, while ensuring your only weapons are your bare hands and a bottle of vodka? What I've just done isn't fantasy. I've simply turned you Russian. Imagine the Stalker games. Then imagine Escape from Tarkov. Then imagine a potential class action lawsuit with both you narrowly avoided. Ladies and gentlemen, STALCRAFT X, the first-person open-world extraction shooter. In order to fund my war against the Internal Revenue Service, this video is sponsored so that I may crush the government under a mound of labubus. STALCRAFT begins with the disturbing revelation that all Russian people are made of squares. I have asked my Russian editor to confirm this with a picture of himself, and he just sent this. Also, when you download the game, the launcher shows you this picture. Truly an inside look at the mind of a game developer. The tutorial teaches a lot of things, like running, jumping, and downing a crate of painkillers. If I can't feel the bullets, they basically don't exist. After retrieving a mysterious blue orb, lightly used and never pondered, we're tasked with escaping the facility. Our enemies will be expecting an armed gunman, so to gain the tactical edge, I drop my gun and stab them with a knife. If I know anything about Russian culture, it's that to get married, the groom must defeat the father-in-law in a ceremonial CSGO knife fight. Naturally, I must pick clean every single corpse, because I am a dirty loot goblin. So when Comrade says rush to the chopper, what he means is limp 100 meters because I am 300% over encumbered. I don't know how I climbed this ladder, but I'm fairly confident this man is now a caterpillar. My name is John STALCRAFT, and I am dead. This game takes place in basically Chernobyl. Mutants roaming around, governments plotting to do government things, and people fighting for resources. We can choose between two factions, but I can't be a stalker because I already have one and his name is the FBI. Bandits, on the other hand, is long for the word band, which is long for the word bee, and bees make honey. What does this tell us? Nothing. Immediately, we're greeted by the most beautiful man in Chernobyl, Lyndon. But don't let his sexy face distract you from the forced labor we now have to do. Our previous character, John STALCRAFT, is no more, and we've been reincarnated. As a bandit, we start in the respectable boathouse. If we pick Stalker, we'd start somewhere else. Unrelated, but stalkers eat babies. Just thought you should know that. We're tasked with locating a stash, but because it's nighttime, we'll need something to help us see in the dark. So I set myself on fire. The boathouse is a safe zone, but outside there are quest objectives, containers with loot, camps of enemies to clear, and other players. Fellow bandits are our stalwart friends, whereas the disgusting, subhuman, degenerate, evil, vile, loathsome stalkers are our enemy. Stalkers hate kittens, by the way. It's a true fact. The bunker isn't very far away, and inside is an electrical trap we're supposed to defuse, something I realized after running through it. I left the bunker with a new bandit friend, a fellow player I could learn the ropes from. His first lesson was in how to get sucked up by a wind vortex and die. I would have given him his loot back, if there was any. The main gameplay loop at first is completing quests and clearing monster camps. Pigs hate him for his one simple trick. They drop crafting ingredients for getting more gear. My child will manage his inventory and wait carefully. Heading back to the base, we can see players eagerly enjoying the sights of the country, and upstanding citizens like Ababadobadoba practicing for the local Slav squat competition. Doing helpful tasks levels up our base, things like turning in quests, clearing camps, and giving Abadabobaboba a lobotomy. In turn, we unlock higher levels of gear we can craft, and even talk with the scientist. Hey pal, I'm not your pal. Most of the core game mechanics are pretty straightforward. We get crafting materials and junk in the wild, we can store the crafting stuff in our stash, and sell the junk for rubles. I can understand buying a lighter, but the 50 ruble hairball is anyone's guess. Now, this game's graphics probably remind you of another very famous block-based game. It's the one we're all thinking of, Castle Miner Z. But there is no mining or placing blocks here, only big strong men selling weapons. The developers must know their target audience well, because there is not a single woman in the entire game. The only thing we want is big, strong, burly men. My first purchase was an MPK and a sawn-off shotgun. Then I picked up a quest from what I imagine is a biblically accurate angel. Outside the safe zones is the real game, and by that I mean burglarizing an old man's home. Thanks for the 300 rubles, sucker. Now we have to brew drugs. Unfortunately, touching the water is radioactive, like watching a 60-second YouTube video covering drama slop. 4 hours later, and now you're watching clips of The Sopranos with background music so loud around, you can't even hear what they're saying. Obviously, getting shot will also kill you, like when I tried to clear a camp of disgusting, evil, slimy, loathsome stalkers. When I got back, I was greeted by 2 fine bandit gentlemen, and all my loot missing. I wonder where it went. But this taught me an important lesson, a nugget of wisdom that I'll pass on to you. Kill yourself. It's a lot faster than walking, and you'll respawn in the base. Just make sure you didn't have anything valuable, except your weapons and armor, because you keep those on death. The zone has many anomalies, like the guy who levitates on his bed. This must be a normal occurrence in Russia, because nobody else seems to care. With a level 2 boathouse, now we could get better weapons, namely an assault rifle and a quest to solve a murder mystery. Could it be the guy named Convict, the masked dude, or maybe the guy with the human ear in a box? I guess I'll never know. We simply don't have the technology. I've always found that social interaction is what makes or breaks multiplayer games, like standing behind an overleveled ally so I can loot everybody he kills. Then when he's surrounded, I hit him with the "Yas, Queen" and run away. There are many upstanding members of the community, like my personal favorite, John Hitler, who helped me clear a bunch of military camps to complete a quest, or a downed player I revived named Jarkin. Thanks, sir. Oh, I'm Jarkin it. Yeah, you are. Even in the safe zone, I was challenged by a random dude to a duel, where we both got grenade launchers and fired them at each other in a hangar. I know they say to normally beat up the biggest guy in prison, but if your first instinct is, I'm gonna challenge Joe Rogan Devourer to a duel, then kill yourself with fall damage and lose 8 rounds to 0, the lesson might not apply. Trust me, I don't need other people's help to get myself killed. I'm perfectly capable of that all on my own. Oh, I'm not safe! I'm not safe. I'm not safe! Suffice to say, the zone is not very hospitable. If I got a nickel every time I was gored by a boar, I would be a very wealthy man. Some quests have instance dungeons you clear solo, although I think it would be nice if you could do this with a friend. Rarely a quest will involve hacking, which means solving some kind of logic puzzle that requires an advanced degree in thermodynamic quantum physics, or Google. Coming from someone who likes Conquest of Elysium 5, Project Zomboid, RimWorld, and many other games that throw you into the meat grinder and tell you nothing, there is a level of satisfaction that comes from figuring out STALCRAFT mechanics on your own instead of going through 500 tutorials just so some games journalist could figure out how to jump. Still, there are a lot of quests in this game that will require a guide. There is an auction house where players can sell each other items, and I thought I was so clever buying other people's bags of crafting materials, only to realize you can't open them. Apparently what people do is kill someone, then ransom their stuff back to them. Eventually I got enough crafting materials to graduate from a knife to a hammer, which I immediately used to follow around a fellow bandit, hitting him non-stop. He tried running away for the first few minutes until he eventually resigned himself to a life of blunt force trauma. Completing quests is totally optional, but it does introduce new enemies and mechanics, like creeping around investigating a warehouse, then suddenly being ambushed by a man-hunting ghoul. Mutant or not, I have a hammer. Occasionally, you'll run into allies defending themselves from mutants. You could protect them, so of course I let them die and looted them. Eventually, the main quest line leads to someone named Shaman, who both looks very familiar and whose main goal is to get that orb our tutorial character died with at the start of the game. He directs us into the next zone. The world map is pretty large, but we start in the swamps like the low poly pleb we are. I didn't encounter many stalkers in the starting zone, but then again, onlookers would just see a masked man screaming about his canned bean collection and beating a pack of mutated pigs with a hammer. The only other encounter was catching someone mid-looting. Hammer! Shaman sends us to the next zone of Roadside, where the new bandit HQ is an abandoned school. This is where the crushing realization hit me. There is no fast travel between safe zones, and I still had quests in the swamp. I really wish there was a fast travel just between safe zones, because it's not like you'd use it that often, and it would make completing quests from different areas like 10 times easier. If you die, you respawn at the last safe zone you were in, not the closest one. Roadside has more going on than the swamps, more vendors, more items, more enemies, and a capturable outpost versus the other team, where I was repeatedly killed by my nemesis, Fat Schmeat, until I mustered all my gamer instincts and hid in a box. When I went back to loot my enemy, Mr. Schmeat, he had so much toilet paper, it immediately crushed my spine and over-encumbered me. Then I raced against the AI pursuing me and almost died due to the sheer weight of Fat Schmeat's bag. Unrelated, but how would you react if someone someone walked up to you in the street, looked into your eyes, and said, "I am going to stuff you with my white bread." See, this is actually a clever reference to STALCRAFT, because every human enemy drops white bread. I would go out to clear camps for crafting materials and come back with enough food to make a Mr. Beast video. Stalkers have this defense mechanism where if they're attacked, they begin busting it down 4x4 crazy style. Speaking of stalkers, my friend Reggie was also sponsored to play this game, but he decided to pick the disgusting, vile, evil subhuman stalkers and challenged me to a duel. We just go fists? Only fists?
Only fists, yeah.
What do I do?
You're
This
my
man is
prison
insane.
wife now.
Oh! My biggest mistake was a knife duel, because I forgot that Reggie is Canadian, which means he's half British, and therefore an expert on naked knife fights. Roadside's quests involve delivering letters and maybe remembering who they go to. I did not. Then giving a man 5 bottles of vodka and almost failing the quest because I sent him into a temporary coma. This all culminates with infiltrating a base owned by the Orderlies. They remind me of the local skinhead population, but don't worry, they're not racist, just genocidal. They think I'm one of them, even as I take every ammo pack in their entire compound. But at the end, we discovered they captured Lyndon. I could kill him to join the Orderlies, but his high cheekbones and perfectly shaped jawline persuade me otherwise. Lyndon is simply too sexy to die, so I kill everyone else instead, fighting all the ways back to the bunker through dozens of Orderlies and out through the exit. Returning to Shaman, we get another cutscene with the big beautiful orb, a scientist harnessing it for absolute power, which will surely not lead to conflict later, and a special rifle called Shaman's Boomstick, or as I call it, the Pig Annihilator 9000. This mostly concludes Roadside and sends us to another region called the Agro Complex, and this place is the seat of my greatest mistake. After checking into the safe zone, I did a little exploring. Oh my god! It seems I've caught a disease, and by that I mean all of them, leaving all my stuff in the center of an unsurvivable field. Now, there are 2 options: mourn the loss of my loot and move on with my life, or sprint into the field, grab my stuff, and die a second time. To a sane person, dying is loss, but to a person with the brains and willpower of a concrete slab, death is an inconvenience. I respawned at the safe house, ran all the ways back, and did it again and again, making it a little further each time, until I made it far enough to grab my stuff and successfully escape. It's a good thing too, because otherwise I would have lost 1 roll of toilet paper and 12 slices of white bread. We're then directed to the next safe zone, the bar, and this one is a little different. Instead of being bandit or stalker specific, both sides inhabit the bar. It's like in zombie movies when they cover themselves in blood to trick the zombies, except here it's vodka. Take 2 steps outside the bar and people will be hostile again, and they will shoot you. A lesson I learned quickly when running to the bar, getting gunned down, respawning in a different safe zone, and getting a message that they just auctioned off my bag. Sometimes I get this place mixed up with America, because in every container is bullets, and in the ovens are grenades. Getting back to the bar, I ran through the pit. Apparently there are zombies in this game, but they fire guns. On top of being chased by dogs, zombies, wind anomalies, and the entire Russian military, an eruption started. These kill everyone outside and force you to find a bunker. Just when I thought all the monsters would run down the stairs and kill me, I met my savior, McBunbuns, who killed all the zombies outside and came down here to avoid the eruption. Out of gratitude for his massive balls, I gifted him my most prized possession, a single slice of white bread. For no real benefit to himself, he escorted me all the ways to the bar, protected me from the mobs, and gave me tips on how not to die to other players.
I kind of avoid the camps because they'll hear you fighting the camps. A lot of the time people in the bar like to they'll find you and you'll die. So we go through the pit and stalkers go through the forest. They can come around here. I've been into the forest.
Then he helped me complete a scavenger hunt quest where we needed to search a highly disease-ridden house. I crafted a special suit for the area so I was protected, whereas he just ran in, chugged 10 medkits, and survived. McBunbuns, if you ever see this, you're a real one, brother. His help got us to a crossroads in the quest line, to either side with a faction called the Mercenaries or the Covenant. Now, the loser Mercenaries offer trained gunmen, whatever. But what the Covenant lacks in training, they make up for with ambassadors. No, they don't represent countries, but they do represent the explosives strapped to their chest. In exchange, we need to hunt down a monster that's been terrorizing their squad, leading us to a massive underground cavern and more parkour. No, that didn't work! Personally, I don't really mind the parkour, but that's mostly because I found ways to get around it, either by mashing the spacebar or doing jumps the game clearly didn't intend for you to do. Coming to the end, we hit a respawn point with meds and ammo, then slide down into a boss arena, a ghoul that chases you and periodically blinds you with darkness. I died here. A lot. Partially because a sniper is a terrible weapon for this, and partially because this boss is kind of annoying. But remember that advice I gave you at the start of the video? That nugget of wisdom that will save you forever. That's right, kill yourself. I would grab healing items from the checkpoint, jump into the boss, die, then respawn and keep collecting free meds. Eventually, I had so many medkits, I could just face tank the boss and kill him. Main eating ghoul 0, copious drugs 1. With the Covenant's help, we infiltrate a military compound, murder many people along the way, and tell their leader that he is ugly. Thanks for the 5,000 rubles, I'm gonna leave. And go straight to another base, because our friend Oracle got kidnapped by the orderlies. They're paranoid of knife-wielding maniacs, which is why it's good I have a hammer. My clever disguise of nothing tricks the guards, and they let me in. Some social manipulation later, and we have to solve some puzzles to get into the base. I completed a memory puzzle, snuck around some guards, stole some rat poison, and boom, we're at the prison with Oracle. But he's not alone, because next to his cell, our boy Lyndon. Looking voluptuous and succulent as ever. Because we saved Lyndon at the other orderly base, he repays us by taking off his shirt and killing half the guards. We head up to the roof, threaten a helicopter pilot, and escape right before being chased by Morg, the leader of the orderlies. As a fellow man, his head reminds me that I will never truly escape male pattern baldness. The resulting depression crashes the helicopter and spirals me into a nightmare. The only way out of my bald-induced coma is a mandatory stealth section. Sneaking around? No thanks. I built up such an immunity to lead, I could just run through while being shot. These ominous otherworldly pillars could only mean one of two things. Either I OD'd during the ghoul final fight 3 hours ago, or parkour, leading us out of the coma and onto the last mission of the game. Fortunately, I knew exactly what to expect, because my friend beat it first, so I ran back to the base to grab the tool I would need. A surgeon uses a scalpel, a writer uses a pen, and I use 2 crates of frag grenades. The final mission begins with a tunnel to get into the city. Lots of anomalies, lots of zombies, and a massive parkour section I found a way to completely skip. The entire city above is infested with mutants, so it's a good thing I came prepared. Running through the city was, I think, the first time I got genuinely jump scared by whatever this thing is that killed me. It's clearly not meant to be killable, so I killed it with 500 bullets and my advanced monkey brain of standing on a truck. Seemingly at the end of our mission, we go to escape and get intercepted by Morg. As it turns out, he might not be such a bad guy after all. You know, besides the mass murder part. Although to be fair, I've probably killed like 700 people by this point. Morg isn't just the orderly leader, he's the character we played as at the start of the game. He is John STALCRAFT himself. This drops us into our first of 2 boss fights against this thing. This boss was a bit frustrating, especially because one of his moves heals himself rapidly, but I eventually beat him and moved on to the last fight of the game. Morg and Shaman fighting over the orb. Shaman wants to use it, Morg wants to destroy it. We get to choose who we side with, so I used an advanced technique to decide. First, I closed my eyes. Then, I moved my mouse randomly. And last, I opened my eyes and picked Morg. His armor is just cooler. The final fight requires us to destroy 4 pillars above Shaman, as he spawned waves and waves of mutants. But dear God does he spawn a lot, and gets armed reinforcements too. So you know what I enjoy more than fighting a boss as intended? Standing on top of him. If we hop the railing around him and get right on the edge, most of the mutants can no longer hit us. I can just gun down the ghouls and mercenaries, and I'm completely safe. Below me is God's greatest raid, and 4 destroyed pillars later, we move on to the second and final phase. Are we going to A, fight this boss as intended, or B, cheese him as well? All this electricity on the ground that's supposed to stop you from running too far? Yeah, I'm gonna ignore that. By killing myself 10 times, I now have an ungodly amount of medicine, so I can kite into the electricity and just chug medkits. That means Shaman is very dead. This ends the main questline, and in my headcanon, Morg becomes a hairdresser. If I were to sum up my experience playing STALCRAFT, I'd say the best part was doing stuff with other players. Apparently there's co-op missions coming out, which confirms my belief that this game is the most fun to play with other people. If you want to check out the game, it's free, and you can use my code for some exclusive rewards. Thank you to the developers for sponsoring, and most of all
I gotta say is that you better know what this is, or else I'm gonna come find you.